And so with this business, it is a lot of like personal development on crack. And that's how I like to
That's a good
really,
way to describe it.
yeah, that's how I honestly see it because
Yeah.
a lot of people, they want to see the results first. They want to see the money come in first.
Mhm.
But in reality, if in order to see the success that you want to see, the transformation has to happen within. So, welcome to the Breakthrough and Conquered podcast, the show where we'll break free of old patterns and generation curses that have held us back for far too long. I'm your host, Claudia Garcia, and in this space, you'll gain the tools and resources to help you create a life-changing transformation. Together, we'll learn to act, think, and become the top 1% by conquering limited beliefs, and boost productivity, and know exactly what it takes for you to dream and live your dream life. I will even unlock the secrets of high-ticket affiliate marketing to help make this all possible. So today, I have two very special guests. They're definitely women that are in the same community as I, and I would love to introduce Natasha and Alexis. I would love for people to really, guys, learn your stories, your struggles, how it's gotten you to here in Bali now that we're all here like together. So I guess start with you, Natasha. Like, why did you even start the business in the first place?
Yeah. So I was in healthcare. I was very burnt out. That's all I knew was healthcare at the time. So I ended up leaving because I knew I wanted something different in my life. And then I ended up going back because, again, that's all I knew. And I was in the worst job of my life. I
Oh,
was so burnt out. I was like, there's got to be something more.
yeah.
And I just remember like going into the bathroom crying and like just like teary eyed stuff. And then I was like, okay, something's got to change. And my mentor now reached out very authentically. And it was like it just felt natural. Like it felt right. And I was like, I got to learn more. And so I learned more about it. And I was a little bit nervous because I've done things online before
Yeah.
and it didn't work out. So I was like, is this the same thing? But I learned throughout everything that we do. I'm like, okay, this is totally different. And I just
Yeah.
felt like God was calling me, pulling me towards it. And I was like, I just have to take a leap. And so, 4 years later, here I am.
Yeah. That's insane. And when you mentioned a little bit about like you were teary eyed because of your job, like,
hmm
do you mind expanding on that? Like, what caused that?
Yeah. So I think like healthcare in general is tough. Like
Yeah.
it's not easy. And like where I was at then was like, oh, I thought I was escaping this and now I'm back here again. And I think
Hmm.
that was like one of those things like, wow, I'm taking a step back. Like I wanted to make a change and I didn't. And so that was part of it. And then also like it was during the time we had to wear masks and I was sitting down and the coworkers were terrible. And I'm like, I'm getting paid minimal like wage things. I'm like, I'm just not getting paid enough for this. And
Yeah.
I think it was just like the burnt out was just, infesting on my life. And I'm a big wellness girly and I couldn't do my wellness things that I wanted to do. And I was like, okay, like I'm not passionate. I'm not happy. I'm I'm really like losing sight of like what I really want my life to look like.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I think that was like a big mixture of everything.
Dang. Wow. That's crazy because I feel like that's the same cycle that a lot of people are always in. And then I can totally relate to like if you go back, you think you're like, I thought I escaped this place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, Alexis? Like, how did you get started with, or why did you get started with this business?
So I can definitely relate from the burnout standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
but I had the motivation for a very different, like burning motivation, I would say. When I started this business, I was in a huge turning point where I was in the midst of my 5-year relationship coming to an end. I knew I was going to be moving states. My only real option was to move back in with my parents. I was just a few weeks shy of my 34th birthday. And honestly, I felt so ashamed. And I saw this opportunity as a way to gain my independence again.
Yeah.
So I, at the time, was also starting my own marketing agency. And so it was rough to get like a taste of the entrepreneurship lifestyle and the benefits that come with it, but also the hardships that come with it too. But I really wasn't making ends meet with that. And I needed to have more income, essentially, especially now that I was going to be starting over. And so I saw an opportunity through my mentor now, and I just was like, this is the life that I honestly had a taste of already, but it was because I was doing that in partnership with someone. And to see that it is possible to do on my own, I was like, okay, like maybe I can gain this independence, this self-reliance back because of this without having to go back into the corporate world. Because before that, I was in corporate for 15 years and I had made a good means for myself. But I just knew I didn't want to go back to that. So I was just not ready to give up on the entrepreneurial journey. But the way I was doing it the first go around was not giving me the real freedom and fulfillment, I would say more than anything, that I hoped that would. And so then fast forward, I meet all these wonderful women. It opens up new doors. I end up gaining a whole new community that I didn't expect. And there was an opportunity to come here and boom, now here we are in Bali.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think something is really like what I love about both of your guys' stories is you guys are both doing this single. And that's like one thing that when this business got introduced to me, I definitely did it while I was a mother. And something that's always in the back of my head is like, oh, if only I did this before, it might have been easier or whatever narrative I have in my head. But do you guys mind touching a little bit on base of that? Because I definitely get women in my DMs that feel like they can't do this without a partner because they feel like either it's financial or it's support, or they feel like they can't do a business for financial, mainly I think it's for financial needs. But in my perspective, I feel like this is definitely a great opportunity for you to become independent. I think even though like my husband and I, yes, we do have share accounts, we also have separate accounts. And I think it's like really important that like this business really allows like a lot of women to find their independence. Would you guys agree on that? Or how do you feel like your standpoint is as a single woman doing this business?
Yeah, so I think coming into this single, I definitely had a time where I was like, oh, it would be nice to have a person in this. Not for the financial aspect, just like the extra help for sure. But I will say I am so proud of myself for not waiting for that. I think a lot of times people are like, when I have this, then I'll be ready. And I've always been like that. But I think for this particularly, like I knew coming into this, like if I didn't do it now, I'll never do it. And I think it actually helped not having a person to like have an opinion. Like if this was solely for me. And then I could grow into this and then bring somebody into this versus like, can I do this? I think a lot of times people feel like they have to ask permission. And I was very blessed that I didn't have to ask permission. I got to just, this is what I feel called to do. I'm going to do it for me. And I've been, I'm looking now in the future with everything. I'm so blessed because now I'm going to be able to be like, okay, I've changed so much. I've grown so much. Like with this business, like the finance aspect is awesome. The products are awesome. But like literally the growth comes from this. Like I am just a whole different person. And now like I can attract the person that I'm meant to be with anyway. And I think it wouldn't have happened without this business. So I think it's just been a blessing in disguise, like not having a person. I mean, it would always be nice and still praying for that. But I think it was, something that a lot of people take for granted as well.
And I love how you said that you're attracting the person. How did you say that? You attract the person because of the growth that you had. I think that's so powerful mainly because I think it's you are who you attract. And you are also the partner that you choose really shows a reflection of how much you love yourself. And sometimes people will take that like, my partner, I need a partner, but you could also love yourself so much more that you are growing in your way. So that way, the person that you do attract loves you just as much as you love yourself. And I really love how you said that.
I mean, gosh, I'm over here like getting goosebumps because I can totally relate to that. I mean, I feel like for me, I didn't really realize how much personal work what I was going to gain out of this business. And I knew, having gone through my breakup, that there was a lot of healing, a lot of self-discovery that I was already kind of warming myself up to. And like I said, I just didn't expect this business to kind of be the champion of that. But I will say that for me, just to kind of echo really what Natasha is saying, it was a lot about my previous business. I did feel some sense of codependency where I kept turning to my partner, looking for his input, looking for his validation, looking for his just kind of seal of approval that I was doing it right. Or I would get so heartbroken when I got any feedback that I was doing it maybe or could have been doing it better. And so having no one to really lean on in this situation and in this new business and have no other option but to build that trust within, whether I made a mistake or not, knowing that it was helping me exercise that muscle more and become a more just capable person. The belief that I'm a more capable person on my own, I think is something that I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity because of this business. And to Natasha's point, I do hope that at some point being able to share that with my future partner, we're more of, in a way, like watching you and JP do it. Like you guys feel like a true team. It doesn't feel like you're relying on each other for it to happen. I think that would be kind of the ultimate goal, being able to bring a partner into this and you're really just complementing and boosting each other, not necessarily the business falls if one person doesn't show up.
Hey sis, I just wanted to pause for just a second and just say I appreciate you and I honor you. Seriously. The fact that you're tuning into this episode tells me a lot about you. It tells me that you're not just going through the motions of life, that you're seeking real change and you're wanting more. You're craving more, not just for yourself, but for your family. And that means the world to me. And I'd be extremely grateful if you are able to take this moment to like, subscribe, or leave a positive review. So that way it helps the show and it really helps other people as well. Now let's get back to the episode. And you know, it's crazy. I get that so much about like, oh, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's a lot of people are like, wow, like you and JP. But it really starts with me first. Because when this business was introduced, it was like kind of the angle that we would do it together. But because of his schedule was so hectic, it was like, I did feel like, wait, we were supposed to do this together. Why am I doing this all by myself? And I had to really dig deep to be like, no, I'm doing this for me. And if I do this for me, my family will like benefit from it too. And slowly but surely, I learned to be more disciplined.
Right.
That I couldn't rely on him for inspiration because his mindset was like somewhere else. And I can't like, there were times where I like, oh, I wish I had like a partner who was more inspiring. But actually, it made me have to hold up a mirror and be like, the only person who needs to be inspired is myself. I need to take accountability that I'm not going to rely on him to do it. I need to do it for myself. And then the moment I started doing it, like, yes, some women will be like, well, then I had to inspire him. I was like, no, I was growing at my pace and now he's growing at his pace. And now we're at a point of our lives that it just looks like we do it together, if that makes sense. But like, if you saw like JP a year ago, like ate nothing but the sweets, did not work out, drank a lot of soda. And now he like gave up soda. He's working out. He's really working on his personal development work. But that actually started from me holding that accountable to myself. And I feel like a lot of women, maybe like you mentioned, maybe codependent or expect their partner to hold their hands. But even coming into this with a partner, I was like, it really allowed me to like focus on myself when maybe I never had that chance to because we kind of met each other so early on. Yeah.
It's just a reminder that, you know, if you go into it with that open hand, no matter what stage in life you're at, no matter what your relationship status is, not letting yourself have those limitations because of whatever stage of life you're at. And trusting the process and embracing the process because like you said, like your environment was very different because of your relationship, but you still approached it in a way that Natasha and I are similarly approaching it, being single and not having a partner to lean on.
Yeah, definitely. And so with this business, it is a lot of like personal development on crack. And that's how I like to really
describe it.
Yeah, that's how I honestly see it because a lot of people, they want to see the results first. They want to see the money come in first. But in reality, in order to see the success that you want to see, the transformation has to happen within. So what are some challenges that you guys felt throughout your journey, or maybe still going through at the moment, that is your breakthrough?
No, that's a really good question because I think I was a fitness coach and still am a fitness coach. So like we already talked about like a lot of personal development within my clients.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd done a lot of work before
Mhm.
because like as a health coach and stuff, like you work through that stuff. When I got into this business, I'm like, oh, wow, I have a lot more things. I'm still working on a lot more things. But like, I think the main things is just getting out of your own head, getting
Mhm.
out of your own way, because you could be doing all the right things.
Yeah.
You could be saying all the right things. You could be mentally even saying the right things. Like mine was money mindset. I was like, oh, I'm going to work on this. I'm saying it and I'm doing
Yeah.
the affirmations. And until you truly like act on it and
Yeah.
truly like work on it literally every day, not just once a month or when it pops up, I'm going to work on it literally every day. That is when you'll start seeing that
Yeah.
change. And I think for me, it was very much like the work that I thought I was doing.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing the thing,
Yeah.
but I really wasn't. And so I think just getting out of my own way, unlearning things that I've learned in the past and being okay with being a newbie again, even though I've been in the business for so long, or maybe I've learned this millions of times. Like it's okay to like take a step back and be like, okay, maybe I really don't know this. I'm
Mhm.
going to re-unlearn this and like learn it again.
Yeah.
And I think that is the hardest thing. I think it's the ego thing. Like we all
Yeah.
have an ego that we're like, oh, I've done this before. It's, or I've worked on this. I'm good. And even when you get into the business, you're like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
That's not going to help me. And I think the ego, to sum it all up, is probably the hardest thing to overcome with
Yeah.
this business. But once you do that and you master how to like be okay with just like surrendering
Yeah, for
and
sure.
just working on it, then like magic happens.
Yeah. And when you mean by money mindset, like just so that like the viewers know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
like is there a specific example
Mhm.
that pops up in your head that like this is what I was dealing with and this is how I'm, again, either overcoming or doing it, putting the work in?
Yeah. So when I say it out loud, it sounds crazy, but like growing up, I would like help my grandma and she would pay me and I would
Mhm.
never ask for the money. Or like even working, it was like a grocery store as a teen, like a young teenager. Had a hard time going to get my check.
Mm.
I had a hard time going to get money that I earned. And I didn't know where this was from. I had a hard time asking my parents for lunch money because they would not yell at me entirely, but like they were yelling.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, we just gave you lunch money. And
Mm.
being the oldest, like I had to get the money for my siblings.
Yeah.
So I would like stop eating lunch for 6 months because
Gosh.
I was afraid to like ask for money. And so like
Yeah.
little things like that, I always had a hard time asking for
Mhm.
it, even though I knew like it was there or even though I knew I deserved it.
Yeah.
And so I think that was just like a big mindset piece of like overcoming that it's okay to get what you deserve. It's okay to have
Mhm.
more. Like you deserve what you're working for and you don't have to work harder to get it. You just got to be okay with asking for it.
Yeah.
And I think the asking piece was always my money challenge.
Yeah.
I still struggle with that to this day, but I've focused on that. I've learned like that is something that I kind of pushed down until like I would work through this. I'm like, oh wow, that did happen as a kid. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that was affecting me in sales and like,
Yeah.
me and like just in this economy of just living.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my
Oh,
struggle.
that's so relatable, especially for, I don't know, for me too, because I remember growing up, if I asked my mom for like clothes for a new school or like, there's a resistance behind it. They're like,
Right.
she'll give it to me, but like she'll have like maybe a face. And I'm like reading her body language, or like maybe she will say like, oh, why do you pick the most expensive things? And when it's like really not that much expensive.
Right.
And something that I recently learned is like sometimes that childhood trauma, it doesn't have to be like something dramatic, but like the trauma inside is not the money itself. It's actually the fact that you couldn't speak up for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of like, that could be generational. So I think that's really crazy that you say that. And then on top of that, I really loved how you said that you are still learning how to ask for money. Because I feel like a lot of people, when I ask them, like, how much money do you want to make, like, with this business? They'll always lowball it. They're like,
Yeah.
I just want to make a couple hundred, maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000. 2,000 would be good.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, in today's economy, $2,000 is not going to go very far.
No.
And then, so that's something that I like immediately know when I'm about to coach people. It's like, we need to learn how to like, it's okay to ask for more.
Yes.
And it's not, you're not greedy. You're not,
Yeah.
you still could be very humble making a lot of money, but that response of like, I only want to make enough, you're always going to have barely results. But if you learn to ask for more, then your results will follow with that too.
So true.
And I will say, like, being a Christian woman, I got really into my faith the last few years, and it was like that conflict. It's like, am I a bad person for wanting more? Is God, like, did God give me just plenty and like that's all I should get? Like, because my mom would always say, like, you know, we are rich, we don't need all the money. Like, and that in her mind was like, you know, God will supply what we need.
Yeah.
To an extent. And I've learned and I've listened to a lot of people that they say it in a way like what we ask, we shall receive.
Yeah.
And so when you ask for a couple thousand, you're going to get a couple thousand and you're going to realize you're going to get burnt out because that's not enough.
Yeah.
But when you ask for more, and it's not a greedy thing because, you know, the more you can have, the more you can give.
Exactly.
And this is something that I've had to work through because I'm like, if I'm making 10,000+ a month, that not only is going to cover what I can give, like, you know, emotionally, because like I'll have like energy for it, but also physically I can actually give more to people.
Yeah.
And like it just, that shift is huge. And I think, you know, it really stems down to like when you were a kid and like you can have the best childhood and your parents could say all the right things, but you could interpret it a whole different way.
Yeah.
And I think that is something like it's okay to say like, oh wow, like I had a great life, but like there was some things that I was triggered. Now how can I work through it to like have a better life in the future as well?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Alexis.
Well, I think there's a couple tangents we went down, but before I forget, one of the comments that I just want to piggyback off of is around the money mindset. For me, I was conditioned to kind of think like working harder earns you more.
Yeah.
And in a way, I'm very grateful because I adopted my dad's insane work ethic.
Yeah.
But it has that insane work ethic, similarly to him, has impacted other areas of my life because work comes first. And thankfully, this business has shown me, one, a better balance, but two, kind of defining what work should be and, you know, what really matters. And so that's been tough to untangle from because especially as someone that's just 8 months into this business, there's still a lot of growing pains. And naturally, I just want to work harder, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes it really is in the stillness that you gain some of the most wisdom and some of the most growth to be able to really level up into that new era. I mean, some of even what we're doing here on this trip, it's like, not to say we're lounging around doing nothing, but there are very intentional moments where we are intentionally being more still, I think, to be able to like create more space for the hustle when it's time to hustle.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of some things that I've been personally working through that I know have impacted my life personally and in my relationships in the past too, that I have high hopes that this business has a better chance of being able to overcome that than the corporate world ever was able to.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's big because I kind of went through the same thing where I feel like I have to work more in order to see results. And I quickly learned that was from a survival because I seen my parents survive that way. I've survived that way. So having to like reprogram my brain, I was like, that's actually not true. And I had a coach actually tell me that. She's like, why is your schedule so much? I was like, because I'm so scared if I like don't have all these calls and I don't have my calendar book, like I'm doing nothing. But when I actually slowed down and tapped into my femininity of like, okay, my masculine does. But I have to also incorporate my femininity of like that stillness or putting that time back for myself. That's actually when I started seeing more results. I started seeing more results when I stopped working so much. And that was the biggest like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is so crazy.
Mind trip.
Yeah. And it was more intentional work, getting more quality leads instead of quantity leads.
Right.
And I think that's crazy because your background as your dad was an entrepreneur. So you kind of saw that work ethic.
Yeah.
However, I think in our conversations too is like, what was something that you learned from your dad that you want to break?
To break, I mean, I'll answer that in two ways because I think the breaking part is the working harder, not smarter.
Yeah.
The illusion of control, feeling like I have to do it all on my own.
Yeah.
The prioritizing the security of money in the bank versus enjoying life. And probably my poor dad, I'm like listening off all these
Yeah.
and not really having a plan, like a long-term plan, which is nice that this business, when you stick with it, they kind of give you the plan, essentially.
Yeah.
Like you have the lifetime income opportunity
Yeah.
if you stick with it. And so those are things that really scared me from ever. I mean, for the longest time, I was like, I don't want to be a business owner. Look at my dad. All he does is work.
Right.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, I have taken from him that there will be ups and downs.
Yeah.
And that you don't give up.
Yeah.
And that you have to be resourceful and find solutions. And I think that is something that I've gained more appreciation from my dad for than I was maybe when I was younger able to see. But yeah, you figure out how to make it work. And you also realize that even if it is harder at times, the reward is still larger than giving that control to someone else that you work
for sure. And I'm definitely not shitting on any parents or my parents. But I think what's really big is that the way that I view life is they have certain tools and they did their best with the tools that we have. And all we can do is really observe and learn from what the tools they didn't have. Because where I definitely came from like a more victim mindset when I looked at my parents and I'd be like, why do we have to struggle? Why is it always us? But then it made me realize it's like, there's a plan and it's a plan that we don't see. But maybe my hardships actually led me to where I am today to actually start doing some of that breakthrough work. So that way I can help provide the next generation a better life than I would wanted, you know? And I think same thing with you. It's like you see your relationship with your parents and you saw what certain thing, you could have a great life with them, but you saw little tendencies and you're like, you know what? That's just something I would actually choose not to pass down.
Right.
And I think that self-awareness is huge about this business, is that you realize what really is generational and we have the power to really actually change our faith when we want it. Yeah. So with the challenges and you guys overcoming that, like, where has this business led to you? Like, is there like a proud moment that makes you really think like, wow, I'm actually doing the thing? Or is there a money goal or maybe this trip? Like, is there something that really makes you feel like, wow, like it's working for me?
Well, for me, I think just where I'm at in this business, it is actually being on this trip because it does mean so much more than the business to me. I just think that being able to have the capacity to put myself in a position where I get to put myself first. And I get to receive the kind of wisdom and growth and healing that I am intentionally trying to gain from this trip while running a business is wild. Like, that's usually the reason why I took PTO, not like, oh, I'm going to go run my business so that I can gain all these other personal development areas of my life. So for me, that's where I'm at. And I feel that the next thing I would probably say is just the community. Like the community is such it was such an unexpected win for me. So yeah, I mean, yes, I have had some financial wins through this thus far in this short period of time, but I really just feel like there's just these deeper areas that have been so much more valuable that I'll take with me for the rest of my life, where it's like, I love that quote from that guy where our driver was like, money will buy you the watch, but not the time. And like, I feel like that's really what this business in a nutshell, it's like, yes, there is money to be made, good money to be made in this business, but there's so many other areas that I feel like when you look back on your life and potentially you're at that, maybe you're on your deathbed and it's like, oh, I'm so glad I made all that money. Or it's like, no, I'm so glad I made these connections. I had these rich experiences. I had a meaningful life. I was able to help people. And that's to me like what this business has to offer.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think the money's great for sure. When I made more in one day than I made 2 weeks in healthcare, that was wild. But with that being said, this trip is more than anything. Like, I remember being in healthcare. We'd always have these screens and like you could see like the different places of the world and you can pull it on the corner and it would be like wherever the place was. I'm like, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be cool to go there? And I just remember like daydreaming at my desk of like, okay, like what would it be like to just to book a one way? What would it be like to like set up your laptop at a coffee shop and like that be your work for the day?
Yeah.
I remember like having this like, you know, again, a wellness girly, like, but like being able to like spend my morning on me and not just like in a selfish way, but in like an intentional way of like what I'm intentionally wanting to do. And just like all of that stuff I've been able to achieve. And like, this is like the cherry on the top of being able to actually book the one way and actually be here and meet up with girls, you know, Claudia and then, you know, other Myra here and being able to travel around with Alexis. And like, we just met me and Alexis like in person, in October. So like the connection, like that stuff is, yes, God is so good. Like I never would have thought it would actually come true. And I think that is like the biggest win in itself.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I think, again, we go into this business wanting to make more money, go into this business wanting to have like flexibility or freedom. But the community aspect is definitely something that I did not think would make such an impact to me. Because again, I kind of go from this like mindset of like, I'm really hyper dependent. Like,
Same.
and in the beginning of my journey, I was very like, I'll figure it out on my own. And then I had a coach that didn't do the business anymore and really had to figure it out on my own. But I definitely see the reward when I get to connect with you guys and get to connect with other people in Anagic that are not in our group. And you just have this like, the best way I could describe is like this sisterhood.
Yes.
Because it feels like you know each other, but we really don't.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so with that being said, what is something that you would love to tell your past self with what you know now that was maybe scared to start this business or skeptical to start this business? Like, what would you tell her that you know now?
Man, my past self. So similar to Alexis, I went through a really bad breakup and my life crumbled. I was like, what am I going to do? Like I had my whole life planned out and it was just like in one day, one weekend, it was gone. And I was like, I don't know what life is anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. And I think I would have told her that, hold on, because you are going to go for a crazy ride here.
Yeah.
And, you know, your small town is going to get big here quick because you're going to book those tickets. You're going to escape. You're going to do the things that you always dreamed of, but never thought you could. And yeah, just to not give up on yourself, because I think I was so down on myself so long because I thought I lost success and I thought I like almost ruined what I was creating.
Yeah.
And like, what is going to be next? But once I like, took that step, I would have just told her like, it's meant for a reason. Like you had to go through that breakup to get here. And if you were still in that relationship, you would not be happy. You would be stuck. You would have been miserable. And like, I would never have known this would have been possible. So like, it was all meant for a reason. I just wish I would have told her like, just a little whisper, like this was supposed to happen.
Yeah. And I love that because I feel the new version of me embraces challenge, embraces struggle, because I feel like if you don't embrace the struggle, you're never going to get to the other side.
Exactly.
And a lot of people start moving once they're in a really painful spot. And that's when they have to make that decision. But sometimes those decisions that are not easy are the ones that count the most.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's so true. Honestly, you kind of took the words out of my mouth because I was going to say, telling my younger self of lean into the unknown, the version of me that is the perfectionist, that type A who has all of our travel plans booked.
Well, I do appreciate that.
Everything all buttoned up, but just getting more comfortable with rolling with the punches and like kind of like letting it's like letting kind of like nature run its course, because what you think could be the best outcome, you're not even letting the natural possibility of that outcome come to fruition. So yeah, I think there's been a lot of areas of my life that I've been so blessed and have had incredible opportunities and experiences from. But really it is, like you said, the times where I have felt the most lost, the most stuck, the most ashamed, where I felt I really like shed a layer of myself and was able to actually come into a version of myself that I had been resisting, I think, for so long.
Yeah. So it's like embrace the change, embrace the struggle, embrace the journey.
Yeah.
That's definitely what I'm getting from you guys.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
100%.
instead of that fear, and I have to give one of my best friends credit to this, because she has said to me before, which I love so much, of like when like things really start to shake up, or when your world starts to feel like it's upside down, it's like, instead of that fear creeping in, like try to find the excitement of like, oh, something good is about to come from this. Like
100%. Yeah.
it's all about that perspective. It might take a couple, disappointment moments, but like there is always good on the other side of it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you like this episode and you got some inspiration or something to take away, I would really appreciate if you leave a review, like this podcast, and, share it with a fellow friend, maybe someone who's going through a breakup, maybe somebody who is feeling lost. Maybe this could be the inspiration that they need. And where can people find you guys so they can kind of follow your guys' journey?
So I'm primarily on Instagram, and my handle is Lex Live Wonderfully, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you.
And I am majority on Instagram or TikTok, and you can follow me on Instagram, naturally Natasha Ann, or TikTok, tosh.fit_.
Yeah. And if you want to learn more about high-ticket affiliate marketing, because maybe you're also in the healthcare industry, maybe you're also a business owner and you're wanting to find a business that doesn't own you. Or maybe you're a mom just wanting that time freedom to be with your children and maybe gain the opportunity to travel the way that I was able to. Then definitely check out www.claudiaconquers.com. And you know where to find me. It's Instagram and TikTok, Claudia Conquers Life. Until next time, stay unstoppable.